hey, check out this PS1 game. It's like a hidden gem. No one knows about it. I know about that one. Oh, okay. Well, actually, I have another one. This one is super obscure and cool. Oh, yeah, that one. Yep, yeah, I know about that one too. Really? Wow. Okay, well, there's no way that you know about this game. This one is seriously a super hidden gem. Yeah, I know all about that game. Sheesh, you know about all these? Are there any PS1 games that are true hidden gems? Well, I'm glad you asked. Why? Why what? Why are you glad I asked? What are you even talking about? Before the intro, we were... never mind. Hey there, how's it going? I'm TechDweeb, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video today. I'm gonna keep this short because we have a bunch of cool games to look at. Some really cool, lesser known PS1 games that don't get talked about much. I have 7 games to show you today. 7 games that for whatever reason, fly under the radar. Most of these I didn't know about until sorta recently. Some of you guys brought them to my attention and some of them I found while digging through the dusty depths of the PS1 library. And some were gifted to me in a spirit vision when I ate some strange mushrooms that I found growing on my bath mat. Maybe you know about some of these though, and that's okay because these are hidden gems. And by gems, I mean games eluding mainstream spotlight. It's an acronym, so no complaining in the comments about the games I pick because I'm pretty sure all these games don't get talked about very often. The PS1 library is so full of bangers though. I actually have a massive list of games that I want to share, but they'll have to wait for future Hidden Gems videos. But please, if you have any games to suggest for any system, but especially PS1, please let me know in the comments. I might even not steal your suggestion without giving you credit. What a deal. So without further dilly-dallying, as my mom would say, let's play some frickin' Hidden Gems, shall we? Sure, that sounds like fun. Are you still here? Yeah, are you? Huh, I guess not. Starting with V2000. This is a game that I discovered when I was just browsing through my list of games and I saw the screenshot and I thought it looked interesting. I fired it up and then suddenly I'm piloting this little sci-fi hovercraft vehicle thing across these chunky PS1 worlds and trying not to crash while I laser blast weird alien bad guys and pretend I know what I'm doing. V2000 is a 3D action shooter, I guess would be the genre. You're trying to stop a virus outbreak across a bunch of different planets. The basic loop is flying around these open areas, blowing up hostile creatures and their like bases, their hives or whatever, and generally trying to keep the world from getting worse. You can also rescue little inhabitants by beaming them up and then bring them to factories so they can help develop weapons. As in like, I saved your life, now get to work. The coolest part of the game is your vehicle and how it controls. You can switch between a hovering mode that's more agile and doesn't use fuel, and a flight mode that is faster but drinks fuel and is harder to control. That alone makes the whole game feel different from the usual PS1 shooters. You're not just aiming, you're dealing with a vehicle that can control in different ways and with its own kind of feel to it that sets it apart from other games in this 3D action shooter genre. However, it's hard, both the game itself and also getting a feel for how to actually handle your vehicle. It's nothing terrible, it just kinda expect a bit of time for the controls to click, and accept that the game doesn't care about your feelings while you're trying to figure out how stuff works. But once it starts to make sense, it's weirdly addictive. It's simple, it's goofy, it feels unique, and it's the kind of forgotten oddball that makes digging through old libraries feel like treasure hunting. The PS1 is great for these kind of games. They were probably mediocre at the time, but in hindsight are actually totally worth playing. So I had no idea that this game existed before someone in my Discord server recommended it. Thanks for putting this on my radar, Polly. I tried it as I was testing games for this video and now I'm sitting here like, oh, why did nobody physically stop me from missing this for the last 25 years? Threads of Fate is a Square PS1 action RPG where you pick one of 2 main characters at the start, and you actually get 2 different campaigns that I think they crisscross around the same big goal kind of thing. So there's this legendary relic that can grant any wish, and both characters are chasing it for very normal, mentally healthy reasons. If you pick Rue, you're a scrappy kid who fights up close, and the coolest hook is that he can transform into monsters that he's captured, which can change how you move around and fight. If you pick Mint, you're a banished princess with a dangerously confident attitude who uses magic and fights with these ring weapons. The game is fully 3D. You explore a hub town and then you head out into dungeons with real-time combat and some light platforming, so it feels more like a brisk adventure game than a giant numbers spreadsheet kind of RPG. I'm not very far in, but what I love so far is the vibe. It's bright and playful, and it has that classic Square character charm where even the simple screens feel like they were made by people who cared. Combat is straightforward, but the two campaigns and Rue's transformations give it some variety, and it feels very easy to pick up, hard to put down kind of thing. Now, it's not perfect. I read some complaints about the camera being too tight sometimes, and some folks said that the game can be short. It feels short. Neither of those things will stop me from enjoying a PS1 game, though. I really love what I've seen so far. It made it on this list of games that you should check out, so I mean, go do that. Play this one. It's cool. This is Wild 9, and I'm not actually sure how this got on my hidden gems list. Maybe I read someone suggesting it, or maybe I saw it on a video or something. However I found it, I'm glad it's on my list because it is it's cool and fun, and also very much a product of its time. It's like one of those self-confident PS1 games that feels like it crawled out of a late 90s energy drink commercial and immediately peer pressured you into breaking the rules. This is a 2.5D action platformer where you play as a guy with a very large gun that doesn't just shoot enemies, it grabs them. You can yank them towards you and slam them into walls, fling them into spikes, grind them into machinery, or just kind of drag them around to find zany things to do with them. Combat is less about precise shooting and more about creatively ruining these losers' days by using physics in the environment. Levels have lots of traps, conveyor belts, crushers, lava, lasers, and other health and safety violations, and the whole game is built around tossing enemies into these hazards in increasingly mean ways. It's violent, but in that very exaggerated, cartoonishly cruel PS1 way where it feels more mischievous than disturbing. Mostly. I bet some parents were clutching their pearls for this one back in the day, but it's not much compared to the super bloody games, especially on the PS1. This game also has that classic 90s extreme tone with like grungy music, edgy humor, grimy sci-fi visuals, and just like a game that absolutely would have come with a fold-out poster if it could. Maybe it did, I don't know, but that's what it feels like. It's not a masterpiece. It's rough around the edges, sometimes frustrating and not always fair, but it is also full of personality. It's very PS1, if that makes sense. Yes, it does. Do you remember that old NES game called Blaster Master? The one where you had a tank, but you could also get out of the tank and run around like a squishy little dude? Well, apparently that game had a sequel on the PS1. This game. Blaster Master Blasting Again. Yeah, that's the actual name of it. Kind of obtuse, but that's what you should expect, really. This is another late 90s game that feels like it's trying to be bigger than it has any right to. You play as a guy piloting a tank into a big underground maze of caverns and like robot alien things. The core loop is exploration and upgrading. You roll through clunky 3D tunnel networks, sniff out doors and keys and switches and new routes, and then take on a boss at the end of each stage. The tank is your main deal, with rapid-fire guns and sub-weapons that you manage as resources, so you're not just holding shoot forever. It changes the play up a bit. Just like the original, the game gets its Blaster Master DNA from the mix of vehicle and on-foot play. When the terrain gets too tight, or for some parts of the scenery blocking your tank, you gotta hop out as the guy and push forward on foot through alien interiors to grab items and progress. Those sections are a little more fragile and tense because you're suddenly not a rolling death refrigerator anymore. You're a teenager with a blaster and some overconfident dialogue instead of armor. It's also pretty navigation heavy. A lot of the game is learning the layout of the areas, finding upgrades that let the tank do more stuff, and realizing that a dead end from earlier is actually a shortcut now. Almost Metroidvania-like, you know? The camera and the movement can be a bit clunky, as you should expect on a PS1 game, to be fair, but when it clicks, it has that cozy, almost mindless, turn off your brain and map an underground world vibe that scratches the same part of my brain as organizing ROM folders at 2 a.m. Next up, we have subscribe to TechDweeb. Oh, that's an awesome game. Most people don't know about this one. So good, so fun. You should definitely definitely play this one. Such a gem. You'll love it. When I first got into PS1 emulation, this was one of the very first games that I tried, mostly because I have a deeply unearned love of helicopter games. Something about flying a tiny, angry machine that absolutely wants to crash just speaks to me. I'm pretty sure in a past life I was a helicopter pilot. I definitely crashed. That's why it's a past life. In this life, I'm just a guy on YouTube crashing helicopters digitally in RC Stunt Copter. This game is basically a realistic radio-controlled helicopter simulator wrapped in a PS1 game. You fly an RC helicopter through a series of environments, doing precision challenges like landing on tiny platforms, flying through rings, navigating obstacle courses, and not slamming directly into a wall like a fool. I'm not very good at that one. There's no combat, no story, and no mercy. It's all about physics, momentum, throttle control, and learning how not to suck at flying an RC copter. The best and worst thing about RC Stunt Copter is how real it feels. The helicopter has mass, inertia, other physics words, and the controls mimic actual RC helicopter inputs mapped to a DualShock. That realism makes it super satisfying once it clicks, but there is a real learning curve. I actually used to be good at this game. I'm not good anymore. I am once again an RC Stunt Copter novice, which is humbling and also humiliating. I mean, it's basically just a tech demo plus a pile of skill challenges. But that's enough for me. If you too died in a tragic helicopter incident in a previous life, like I did, you'll probably like this one, like I do. This is another one that I discovered just by scrolling through my game list. I saw it was a first-person shooter from the screenshot, and I was intrigued, so I tried it, and I thought it was cool and fun and worth showing to you. So I put it in this video to talk about right now. I'm talking about it now, and then I don't know what happened because it's in the future. Codename Tenka is a sci-fi first-person shooter that feels sort of like an old DOS first-person shooter. It almost has Blakestone vibes, if you know that game. Like a more dark and gritty Blakestone. You'll be navigating dark corridors, glowing lights, ugly mutant things, and the constant feeling that you're trespassing in a place you shouldn't be. You don't have a choice, that's the game, but I felt like I wasn't welcome. The story is, it's like some evil corporation doing some evil genetic experiments or whatever, and it's your job to run straight into their facilities alone and start solving problems with bullets. The structure is level-based. You get objectives and you push through areas full of turrets, flying robots, and whatever bad guys are there, and you gotta hunt around for switches and doors and the next route forward. Nothing too revolutionary, but it's like just enough of a setup to give the first-person shooting a place to happen. The neat hook is the gun. Instead of carrying a big arsenal, you mostly stick to one modular weapon system. As you play, you pick up upgrades and weapon modes and you swap functions as needed. It ends up feeling like a Swiss Army blaster. The game is a bit clunky. Like it feels very much like a PS1 FPS, but the moment-to-moment gameplay is actually fun. The lighting is moody and it can be very dark, which adds to the atmosphere. It's just a solid corridor shooter with a heavy dose of industrial dread. And there aren't a ton of console FPS games from this time that were actually worth playing, so I'm just happy that I found another that'll scratch that itch in a grimy sci-fi kind of way. Here's another game that was suggested by one of you lot. Thanks to Hadamada on YouTube for putting this on my radar. This is Team Buddies, and it's so unique and fun and just weird. It sort of feels like gummy vitamins started a tiny war, and I mean that with deep respect. It's adorable. It's this oddball mix of a real-time strategy game and a third-person action shooting game, where you directly control one little pill dude sprinting around a colorful battlefield that's basically a playground full of landmines. It feels silly, but it has this genuinely clever system underneath all the chaos. The whole game runs on crates. It's all about the crates. Crates fall from the sky at drop zones, and those crates are your entire economy. Weapons come from crates, vehicles come from crates, extra teammates come from crates. You grab a crate, waddle it back to your base, and stick it onto your build pad, and then you have to manage. The pattern you build determines what you get when you finish the stack and pop it open. Small builds give you basic gear, bigger builds give you less basic gear. Some full builds can spit out vehicles depending on the map. So every supply one is a little risk versus reward decision, except you're also being shot at by a dude who also looks like a Flintstones vitamin. You can build up a small squad and swap between your buddies, plus give them simple jobs like defending the base or helping keep the crate machine running. It turns into this constant loop of gathering and building and arming up and pushing forward and trying not to lose your pad while you're off fighting like the brave little capsule soldier that you are. It looks childish and it's goofy on the surface, but it is weirdly smart in practice. Single player is a mission campaign across themed worlds, and it's more about momentum and improvising than like careful long-term planning. But I've heard that the split-screen multiplayer is really where it's at. It looks fun as heck. With a few humans, I bet this would be hilarious. I'm looking forward to playing this one with a friend, if I ever get a friend. Oh, also, apparently this one's getting a remastered version on Steam. So, you can wait for that if you want. Or you could just play the PS1 version. That one plays on your retro doodads, so it has that going for it. And that's it. That's all I have to show you today. 7 games that, in my opinion, don't get talked about much and deserve not to be forgotten. I love finding these kind of games. It's like there's a whole sneaky library of games hiding just below the surface where all the popular games hang out. A whole world of games just waiting for us to dust off and spit shine and give them their time in the spotlight. Speaking of which, I bet there's a good chance that you know about a few good ones that most people don't. So please, share your gems in the comments. Do you have some PS1 games that you played and liked that most people don't know about? Or other systems? Don't be shy. Just share them in the comments below. And when you're done doing that, or just done with this video, make sure you check out my hidden gem playlist, link below, because I have a whole heck ton of videos like this for you to binge. But that's gonna do it for me for today. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.